Hi, Justin here from Bringing Learning to Life. Wanted to come on and talk with you tonight about, are we over rewarding our kids? Are we over rewarding our kids in our schools? So many times in our education programs, we're taught, if you want to see more of a behavior, reward it, right? If you want to see less of a behavior, punish it. And therefore, we reward and punish in school and give consequences to students, which is logical. That's what we were taught, right? I did it, and I know that many schools operate under the same premise. The problem is, I don't really think it's working that well for the majority of our students. What I see most often is that the students that are rewarded are usually the same students. You hear the same students going to the PBIS celebration. You hear the same students on the announcements for being, student of the week or student of the month, the same types of students. You hear the same students going to the honor roll celebration, usually for academic performance. And so they're the same students. Same thing with punishments. Many times you're going to have the same students in ISS and OSS and ASD and silent lunch. It's just, repeat offenders. So the question I want you to think about is, and I don't necessarily want to focus on punishments right now, but how are rewards working for you? Is it the same students that are already performing at the level that you would want them performing anyway? Is it the same students that are already treating each other with good character that they would do anyway without a reward? Are you gaining students that maybe would not do this without the reward? How is it working for you? I think you should just ask yourself those questions if you're using rewards. Who is rewards working for in your class? What types of students? And then how long are they working for you? Are they working and you're seeing long-term effects, or are you just mainly seeing short-term effects? And then after the possibility of the reward, does the child revert back to another type of behavior? And also, again, would that student have done these things without the possibility of a reward? My kind of aha moment for this was when my own child came home one day, and he had finally learned how to read one of those little books when they first start learning to read in school. And the teacher sent the book home, and he was just so proud of himself. He was happy that he could read this book, and he wanted to sit down with me and read it. So he sat down on the couch, and we read the book. And after we read it, I said, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. You know how to read now." And I gave him a piece of candy because I was proud of him. I loved him. I was just wanting to give him something for coming home and being able to read this book. Well, the next day, he came home, and again, he had another little book that they were able to take home. He was able to read it, and again, he was just really excited. "Mom, let's sit down. I want to read it to you," and show me that he could read the book. Well, as soon as we closed that last page of the book, he looked at me and immediately asked me a question. And that question was, "Can I have a piece of candy?" So I was like having an aha moment here. I said, oh my gosh, I have turned this thing that my child was so proud of, and reading a book, which I was proud of him to be able to learn how to do, and I've turned it into a reward scenario where now he thinks that for every book he comes home and brings me, he's going to get a piece of candy. So what I've done is taken the attention off of reading and put the attention on the candy. So no longer is he really loving the book because he's just so excited about reading the book. He now, as soon as we close that last page, he wants the candy. And that was an aha moment for me. And then I reflected on how many times that happened in my classroom. How many times did I shut down the intrinsic value of just sharing with a classmate, doing a kind act, getting good grades, learning for learning's sake, and not wanting just to go to the honor roll celebration? How many times did I shut these things down that students intrinsically wanted to do for the possibility of a piece of candy or a sticker or a PowerPoint to be able to go to the PBIS celebration or an honor roll celebration? How many times did I take away that intrinsic value that they had already fostered within themselves, many of them, and I took it away because I offered an extrinsic reward? And I think that's what we're doing to many of our students when we are constantly giving a reward for something in school. It's like, if you get to class on time, okay, let me give you a dojo point. If you do this, let me give you a piece of candy. If you do this, let me give you a sticker. And it's like, are kids really learning the value of just doing the things that they need to be doing because it's the right thing to do and not because they need a reward for it? And I think sometimes we're sending a mixed message because we're not really preparing them for the real world that they're going to face when they're 18. Nobody's going to give you a PowerPoint for putting your grocery cart back where it belongs in the grocery store. Nobody is going to give you a sticker for taking responsibility and cleaning your house. Nobody is going to give you candy for showing up to work on time and, doing your best as an employee. We need to prepare students for the real world and the reality that they're going to face. And the reality is, yes, there are things that extrinsically motivate us as adults as well. But the reality is that those of us who are responsible and caring citizens are often just intrinsically motivated. We're not motivated by a piece of candy to do the right thing. We're not motivated by a sticker to be a kind and caring citizen, or to clean up our house, or to just go to work on time and be a responsible adult. And I think by over rewarding our students with all of these extrinsic rewards and things that they should be doing anyway, we're preparing them for a reality that really doesn't exist, for one. Two, we're turning the focus off of the learning, off of the character, off of the caring, kindness that they should already be doing, and we're turning the focus onto the reward. And study after study show, and economists and psychologists will tell you that anytime we set up a reward scenario, our students are going to do only the minimum that they have to do in order to reach that reward. They don't challenge themselves to go overboard. They don't fall in love with it for the intrinsic value of it. They're doing it just to get barely by with the exact same thing that we offered them for whatever it is the task would be. And so I would just challenge you to think about in your classroom, what are you using rewards for? Who's it working for? How long is it working? And think about restructuring some of those external, extrinsic rewards to foster intrinsic motivation. So how do we do that? One way is through praise, and it should be, genuine praise to a student, that, you are appreciative of whatever act they did or how they focused on a certain task and in whatever way they did it. Offer specific feedback to them about things that, made you feel good about what they did. And honestly, when schools have transformed to this extrinsic reward to more specific feedback and praise, most of the time students will actually want the praise over the sticker or the piece of candy. They actually prefer the love and the praise and the feedback from an adult or peer as opposed to some extrinsic reward. So that's one way that we can take our focus off of extrinsic and move to more intrinsic. Another way is to just have some reflection built into your day. And anytime something happens, whether it be that a kid did something bad for someone or bad to someone and faces a consequence, or that they did something good. So when my son came home and he was able to read that book, what I should have said was something like, well, how did that make you feel to be able to read that book? And let's reflect a little bit on that. In his inward motivation, for how reading a book made him feel. And let's put the attention back on the focus of being the book, not the candy. Or say when someone shares with someone or does a kind act for someone else. How did that make you feel to help someone else that needed their books carried to class? How did it make you feel to tutor a classmate and help them do better on their science project? How did it make you feel to be able to write that paper all by yourself with nobody's help? And so put those questions back on the students. This also needs to happen when students, again, have consequences for mistakes. How did that make you feel? And how did it make the other person feel? And we need to help students realize their impact on others, whether it be for good or for bad. And that's going to take a lot of talking. And teachers tell me all the time, stickers are easy. Yeah, stickers are easier. Candy's easy. Yes, candy is easier. But we need to think about the long-term effects here, and we need to do a lot more talking and reflecting inwardly about how things make us feel, how things impact us when others do things, good or bad. And let's do a lot more talking. It's harder. We don't always see the effects in the short term as quickly, but I think it has longer lasting effects in the grand scheme of things, and it produces more effective and caring citizens in the long run, because no one's going to be there when they're 18 and they get that graduation diploma to offer them reward after reward after reward for doing the right thing. So we need to teach our students to do the right thing because it's the right thing. And a couple of books I would recommend if you want to do like a staff book study about this and you're trying to move from extrinsic motivation to more intrinsic motivation. One is Punished by Rewards, The Trouble with Gold Stars, Incentive Plans, A's, Praise, and Other Bribes by Alfie Kohn. It's just a wonderful book. Gives you some great tips past what I have talked about here tonight. And then the other one, which I don't have with me right now, it's by Daniel Pink, and it's called The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. And it's not just for schools, it's for businesses, any type of work environment where, we look at why people are motivated to do things and how we can operate within our hearts and not from the operation of getting an extrinsic reward. So I hope that you will think about some of these things, ask yourself some of these tough questions, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know how I can help you. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.